Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Cover One, the NFL Draft Podcast. I am Russell Brown, and alongside me from Atlanta, Georgia, our newest member of CoverOne.net, our newest contributor, our newest draft analyst and draft scout, Christian Page. My friend, how are we, brother?
I'm doing well. It's awesome to be here in Atlanta for the first time for SEC Media Days, getting to speak to a bunch of coaches and future draft prospects. So it's a really cool opportunity, and it's great to be here.
Yeah, man, I love that you're down there. It is your first time down there, right?
Yes, it's my first time at SEC Media Days, so I can't compare it to the past experiences when they've had it at Birmingham, but so far it's been very fluid, it's been very accessible, and it's been a really good time.
That's awesome. That's what we like to hear. I know you've been producing great content, which you guys can find on CoverOne.net. Also, you can find it in your app store by downloading the Cover One app. It's simple. Go to your app store, search Cover One. That's cover with the number 1. And then it's right there. You download it. You don't have to pay anything, but you can become a premium subscriber for more in-depth X's and O's, analysis, video breakdowns, and everything else. But also to stay up to date with the SEC media stuff, follow Christian at _Christian Page. And tremendous stuff coming from Christian. And I'm looking forward to the season to get going and film analysis and breakdowns with him and doing more of this podcast and talking football. But before we get into anything else and get deeper into SEC media stuff, Cover One, the podcast, is brought to you by First Down Playbook. First Down Playbook is the #1 playbook resource for football coaches with over 30,000 plays. First Down Playbook is a database of youth, high school, and flag football plays, color-coded with coaching points for every position on every play. Check it out today at firstdownplaybook.com. That's First Down Playbook, one place, all the football. So, Christian, you're going to be expanding throughout the college football season beyond just the SEC, but to kind of baby step our way into the era of Christian Page with Cover One, I want to talk SEC football, especially because you're down there for Media Day. And I want to start with, I think, probably the guy outside of Jonah Williams that's probably going to get the most buzz this season, and that is Jarrett Stidham from Auburn, the quarterback. And that's simply because of, one, the position he plays, but he is a talented quarterback. You are an Auburn grad. Do not put any bias to this. Cut it straight. What are your thoughts on Jarrett Stidham, the Auburn quarterback?
Yeah, if you want your typical pinpoint accuracy pocket passer, you got your guy in Jarrett Stidham. The issue comes when Stidham faces inconsistency, when he faces pressure, when he has to move out of the pocket. He is good on his feet, but when that pressure comes, he will throw errant passes. He'll tuck the ball and take a sack when you need him to get rid of the football. And those are one of the bigger issues when you see with Stidham. You saw it versus when Auburn was playing Clemson in the second week of the season, and then you saw it again versus UCF, how that pressure, when you make him flustered and make him get out of the pocket, that's when his biggest issues come. And that may not change so much for Jarrett Stidham and Auburn offense this year because they're having to replace a lot of talent on that offensive line. So that will be something to really look for in Stidham and see if he faces similar pressures like he did last time. When he has to escape the pocket, does he keep his eyes downfield and make the best play and make the best read? But outside of that, you look at his downfield accuracy, it's pretty spot on. He's gained a great rapport with those Auburn group of receivers who have a lot of talent, but he has untapped potential in the intermediate levels of the field. And when you like to break it down on film, those are where you like to see a lot of the passes hit because a lot of route developments happen in that 10 to 15-yard area. And it just seems like and that's more of the offense, more of the Gus Malzahn offense, that they really haven't developed the overall routes that you want to see from a future pro quarterback. So think Stidham maybe, get a lot better outside the pocket when he's facing pressure, and then eventually just working his way to more comfort of testing the intermediate and deep parts of the field.
Yeah, and that's the thing too with him is I love the throwing motion. I think his throwing motion's very, very natural. He's got a good flick of the wrist, if you will. Don't mean to put the pun of the song there, but he does have a nice flick of the wrist. And one of the biggest things with him is he doesn't turn the football over. When he spent the 1 year at Baylor as a freshman, he only had 2 interceptions through 10 games. Last year, he only had 6 interceptions through 14 games. He only threw 18 touchdowns, but his touchdown interceptions, it's 30 throughout his career. It's 30 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. And he had over 3,100 yards passing last year while completing almost 67% of his passes. So I really like seeing that, and that shows to me, and I'm not trying to be the box score scout, if you will, because I see the same things that you're seeing as far as the intermediate areas, sensing the pressure and struggling with that somewhat, but he does thrive in those short and intermediate areas. I'm curious as to how that offense will go now that Kerryon Johnson is gone, but I think it rests on Stidham's shoulders, and I think he can get the job done. He was a first-team All-SEC last year, so there's a lot to like with him, and he's definitely the talented quarterback out of the SEC, in my opinion, and I think there's a lot to like with him. Do you think he'll be going pro after this year?
I would think so. He got his bachelor's degree, though he just was a redshirt sophomore, but he has his bachelor's degree in hand. I'm sure he may get those questions asked here on Thursday in the morning when Auburn shows up. He'll join Dontavius Russell and Deshaun Davis. So that NFL draft question may pop up for Stidham. But if all goes planned and he has a similar or better season than he did last year, I would expect Jarrett Stidham to go pro, because we've talked about it. You wrote an article about it. The quarterback class, it's okay. It's not like last year where you're going to see a lot of top-heavy quarterbacks being drafted, maybe, the 3 to 4 in the first round. You're looking kind of at Justin Herbert. How does he produce in the whole season? You're looking at Drew Lock. Can he stay consistent throughout the whole year? And then Jarrett Stidham could, be one of the top spot guys. So I think that's enough encouragement to say, I've done my work at Auburn. Maybe he pulls down an SEC championship or gets his team to the SEC championship again, and he says, hey, that's enough. I'm ready to take my next step forward, because by all means, he has some of the best potential out of any quarterback in college football.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to see where the season goes for him, and I'm expecting him to go pro, but I figured why not ask the question. But I want to move forward from Jarrett Stidham and move on from the quarterbacks, mainly because you didn't name drop my boy Ryan Finley, but we'll discuss that at a later time. But Greg Little, offensive tackle from Ole Miss, their left tackle. When you had joined Cover One, we talked on the phone for, probably about an hour, 45 minutes, something like that, and just had a good discussion, just talking football, talking life, and talking Cover One. And we brought up Greg Little, and it was an interesting discussion. And I wanted to bring what we talked over the phone, I wanted to bring it onto the podcast, because I think what we talked about was hitting it nail on the head. When I watch Greg Little, I see a guy that's got inconsistent hand placement. I see a guy that isn't a natural knee bender. He plays high at times, and he doesn't look like the most athletic guy, but he does have pretty good grip strength. He's a very good run blocker, in my opinion. I think he's translating to the right side. Are you seeing the same thing I'm seeing? Are you seeing a little bit more, or do you think he is a natural fit for the left tackle position? Because he's getting a lot of buzz for Ole Miss, and really he's the guy for them right now outside of their receivers. So where are you with Greg Little?
Right. And when you analyze a guy like Greg Little, because the preseason hype, just regarding draft prospects, you're seeing Little being evaluated as a top 10, top 15 prospect. And that's where I kind of draw the hesitation, because, before all those media releases came out of the top draft prospects going into the season, I studied the SEC individually of each draft eligible player. And I looked at Greg Little, and when I saw all this buzz about him, I was like, he's a good, solid player, but there's still a lot of deficiencies that he needs to address before he can get even that first round billing. I think that's not even a stretch to say that he's not quite that first round talent yet. But I think, like you said, Russ, it starts with that hand placement, and it really starts at the snap. He has an inconsistent punch, and when you have an inconsistent punch with a lack of proper hand placement, then you're all out of whack just right off the start. And like you said, he seems like he has that grip strength and that upper body strength where he can kind of cancel out, in a sense, or throw the trump card down on lack of consistent or proper hand placement. But when you get to the next level, you can't sit here and overwhelm defensive ends with strength, because they're just as good as strong as you are. So you're going to have to sit there and work your hand, or, work the hand technique to, accentuate all your skills. But like you said, it doesn't help when his pad level isn't always where it should be. and maybe his foot speed isn't quite there, though he has an adequate kick slide to maintain the edge. But he does kind of have the mold of a right tackle, though he has the measurables of a left tackle. But at the end of the day, the measurables don't matter. Just can you protect that blind side? And I think it's still kind of up in the air right now. But seeing, maybe going forward with Jordan Ta'amu from the quarterback from Ole Miss, maybe there'll be more of a rapport there where they can sit there and get something together where, hey, you're my guy on the blind side. Let's get something done. So maybe they'll put more pressure on him to really, address those inadequacies of his game.
Yeah. No, and I'm with you. And I'm not the type of guy that likes to move guys from the left side to the right side. Like if you're good at playing left tackle, play left tackle. But if you've got some experience playing right tackle, like Mike McGlinchey last year, so many people said, hey, play him at left tackle. I watched enough of him from especially all 22 angle that I said, he doesn't look comfortable as a left tackle. I watched him play right tackle. He looked more comfortable. I said, I'm going to draft him. Mm-hmm. I don't care if I draft him 8th overall or if I draft him 28th overall. I'm going to draft him and I'm going to play him at right tackle because that right tackle spot is just as important as it is a left tackle spot anymore because there are so many good edge rushers. I mean, if you are a right tackle, you're playing against Khalil Mack almost every single snap. Maybe Jadeveon Clowney or J.J. Watt every single snap. So you have to really think when we play our division, who are the stronger edge rushers and what side are they going to be coming off the edge at me? And if you can get Greg Little and I can move him over to the right side, we can be a stronger run team running to the right side. Maybe we go that route because protecting my quarterback's blind side is ultimately the most important spot, and that left side is ultimately the blind side, no matter what anybody says. So I don't see a first-round talent like you said. I think there are some things that he's got to fix, and I think he can fix them. It's going to be a fun season to watch him, and I'm hoping he turns it around because to have Trey Adams from Washington, Jonah Williams, and then you add in a player like Greg Little, offensive tackle wise, we love the big uglies. That'd be a fun first round to talk offensive tackle. So I think it would be good.
Yeah, and you definitely want that because I feel like it's one of the more important positions, and it gets a lot of buzz. We didn't really have that last year. McGlinchey may have gone a lot higher than a lot of people expected because if he is a true right tackle, you normally don't see those guys go anywhere around the top 10. Connor Williams maybe has molded more like a guard. And then Orlando Brown, we saw the collapse in the combine, and then that shifted his draft stock way down. So we didn't really have those tackles in the top tier of talent last year, but I think we definitely could coming into at least the 2019 draft, depending on who declares or who stays in school. But going back to your point about the right and left tackle, one of my biggest pet peeves is that just shifting somebody inside or to the right side doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be better there. And I know you alluded to, defended the stance that just Mike McGlinchey, for example, looks more comfortable at right tackle because he played that position before he moved to left tackle. So I think a lot of people forget that it's not just simply moving somebody inside or moving somebody to the right side because your kick slide's a little different, your timing might be a little different, and even your punching might be a little different, and just what you do initially. So I feel like that's kind of thrown around as if like, just move him inside, he'll be okay. But that's not necessarily the fact because there's probably plenty of examples out there where you see maybe an undersized tackle that you want to shift inside and it doesn't work out because he is uncomfortable. And then the learning curve is that much steeper because you're essentially learning a new position and just a new timing of everything. So if Greg Little's comfortable at right tackle, then by all means, let's try him out. But if the most potential is at left tackle and he looks more comfortable, going off that left leg, then leave him there, coach him up, and then you're getting a solid talent. But I just wanted to throw that out there when we're talking about changing positions because it sounds simple, but it's really not all that simple.
Yeah, no, it's really not, and it all depends on the coaching staff that you have because let's be honest, all these guys are athletic freaks. We know that they're stronger, they're faster, they're bigger. And if you get to the NFL, there's a reason for that. And odds are it's because of what I just said. But it all depends on the coaching that you have. And if you don't have a good offensive line coach, odds are you're not going to be as successful. If you come to Detroit and you were a part of that team last year or the year before with Ron Prince as your offensive line coach, Taylor Decker was very good. But when Ron Prince took over that offensive line, there was no progress along that offensive line. So it does depend on the coach that you have. And I think that's very important going from college level to the NFL. But going forward, I want to look at these articles that you just put out over the last couple of days. You've written 2 pieces for us over on cover1.net, which, of course, you guys can all check out with the Cover One app like I've talked about before. I want to talk about this Texas A&M piece because I loved it. You talked about defensive linemen. That's right up my alley. And you talk about 3 of these very talented players, starting with Landis Durham and then Kingsley Kiki. I believe I said that right.
Mm-hmm.
And then Daylon Mack, who is an absolute freak. What can you tell me about this group and who is kind of the gem of the group?
You want to start with Landis Durham because he's tied with Montez Sweat coming into the SEC with 10.5 sacks. So it starts just from a production standpoint. Landis Durham has it. Now, is he this big athletic guy that you're going to see coveted in the first round? Probably not, but just based on production and what you see on the field, the intangibles, you can just tell. And some guys you can watch. You can touch on this too. It's like some guys you just watch and you can just tell the football intelligence that they carry and just like how they can instantly read and react to a play. They may not always make the play, but they at least get themselves in position to make the play. I feel like that's what Landis Durham is. He's not this quick, twitchy, super athletic defensive end, but he's going to put his hand in the dirt. He's going to be aggressive. And at the end of the day, in the fourth quarter, he's still going to have his motor revving to the highest level and really annoying that offensive tackle on the other end, because that's just the kind of player he is. He kind of has that captaincy attitude. And I was kind of surprised that he is not here in Atlanta because I thought he would be representing Texas A&M. But the defensive line, the defensive lineman that is from Texas A&M that is represented in Atlanta is Kingsley Kiki. He's not your stat-packing defensive lineman, but he has some underrated tools as a pass rusher. I know production-wise from that, he only had a 1 sack last year, so it's not like he pops off the page with a pass rushing attitude, but he still has some length that you like. He has the motor that you like and just has the intangibles that you also covet in that interior guy. He can bounce between a 3-tech and a 0-tech across the defensive line. I just feel like the potential's there for him. And he's just a massive of a man, has some strength, not over athletic, but has that strength that you want in a true nose guard if that's what he's going to project as. And then going to Daylon Mack, I'll go real quick. His freshman year, he was phenomenal. Jumps off the snap, he overwhelms offensive tackles and offensive guards and interior linemen. Really has the guys just guessing, what his next move is. He can win with power. He can win with speed. And he just wins with his eyes. And I feel like he can sit there and read the backfield and react so quickly. And though he's, at a 320-pound frame, he's pretty good with the change of direction, being able to shift his body weight and attack the backfield. But that's kind of gone missing in years 2 and 3 compared to his freshman season. His production's dropped down. He hasn't been a consistent starter in the lineup. So I want to see the answers to why that is the case. But Jimbo Fisher did say in the big press conference, in the opening press conference here at SC Media Days, that Daylon Mack has improved and caught his eye just as much as anybody else has at Texas A&M. So that's always good to hear coming from a former 5-star prospect.
That was something I was going to ask as far as some things that you might have heard from Jimbo Fisher. And that eludes me to my next point is, do you kind of get the Deshaun Hand vibe when you watch Daylon Mack a little bit, a former 5-star recruit, not really able to put it all together, can't connect the dots, if you will? Because when you look at Deshaun Hand at Alabama, it was very similar stuff. I mean, he had traits through the roof. He had everything that you were looking for. He was a football player through and through. When you look at size, strength, speed, everything, he was perfectly put together, but he just could not be consistent enough on the field. And he had moments that you see it and you're like, I want this guy all the time. He obviously 4th-round pick for the Detroit Lions. Do you get that vibe with Daylon Mack a little bit, maybe comparable to Deshaun Hand? I like letting guys be their own guy, no doubt about it. I don't do pro comps, but that's just the vibe I get when I see that sometimes.
Yeah, no, you're spot on because they're both highly coveted recruits coming out of their respective high schools, and you just saw that they would add this immediate impact. And then Deshaun Hand, he's at Alabama. It's like, when is this 5-star guy going to get on the field? When is he going to produce? And it never really happened. He was fortunate to get that invite to Mobile for the Senior Bowl. We were both in attendance to watch him. He had a subpar week, I guess we could say, at the fair assessment, but he made enough impact to be drafted in the 4th round. and to maybe be used as, a 5-tech defensive lineman, or, even, I know he's in Detroit's system, but even if somebody wanted to use him in a 3-4 alignment, or just shift him around, because he has that body type and that overall athleticism to be kind of versatile. So if you take that approach and apply it to Daylon Mack, you kind of have the same sense as, like, this guy was a 5-star for a reason. We know he has this potential. Now let's get our hands on it and mold it. And, we're talking about this before Daylon Mack's year. So maybe he kind of puts it all together and, accentuates all those skills that made him a 5-star talent. But we're still waiting to see, if he falls in the same realm as Deshaun Hand, just kind of underachieving, though he was a very coveted recruit coming out of high school.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll be honest, Jimbo Fisher, this isn't the first time that he's had a 5-star recruit defensive end or defensive lineman in the palm of his hands. He had Josh Sweat for many years at Florida State, who had similar inconsistencies. A lot of that was due to the knee injuries that he had suffered through high school and stuff like that. But he was a former #1 recruit and all that good stuff. So it's interesting. Jimbo Fisher, I like the fit for him in Texas A&M. I don't like seeing guys go chase money all the time, but hey, sometimes you got to do it, and that's what he's doing. He's going to A&M, he's getting the money. So it'll be fun to see how this team meshes together. But SEC Media Day, you're down there, you're doing that thing. What are some of the news, the notes that you can give me? I know there's not a ton of news, but maybe some things that you're picking up that other people don't know yet and you can relay out to the people.
I wish people were that transparent here, but, they're very coached up, players and coaches on their responses. And I mean, really the biggest thing coming into this week has just been all the new coaches across the board. I mean, you have Jeremy Pruitt coming over from Alabama's defensive coordinator, now the head coach at Tennessee. You have Joe Moorhead, the Penn State offensive coordinator, coming over as the head coach at Mississippi State. Chad Morris, longtime Clemson offensive coordinator and then SMU coach, now the coach at Arkansas, and there's a few others. So that's kind of been the theme, is there's so many coaching changes, but it seems like they're promising hires. And and you have big institutions and big schools and big football programs. And one of the bigger ones is Mississippi State. Dan Mullen jumping ship from Starkville to Gainesville, to coach at a place he's already been before. So that's kind of been the theme. And I wish I could tell you more, that there's been this big time news and everything, but it's kind of been pretty status quo. Nothing too crazy. I mean, you'll get a fan or somebody on Radio Row that's maybe a little louder than you wanted them to be because they're ruining your broadcast. But outside of that, Paul Feinbaum he was one of the bigger storylines coming in because he didn't sign that extension with the SC Network. He signed it, I believe, on Friday or Saturday. And so that wasn't a topic of discussion. So pretty much the only topic of discussion you can talk about is Gene Chizik's shirt styles and just like his fashion statement across the week. So I don't want to say it's been a dead week, but from a news and a breaking news standpoint, it hasn't really been what you expected, but that doesn't really come as a surprise.
Well, what's the plan for the week ahead? I mean, do you have anything as far as Nick Saban being down there or anything like that? Who's kind of on the schedule throughout the week? So when we're hitting that follow button at _ Christian Page. What are some things that we should be seeing throughout the week, you think?
Yeah, I'm probably going to have to camp out in the media room tomorrow when Nick Saban and the whole Alabama crew arrives, because, when Alabama travels, everybody else travels with them. So I'm going to have to get a good stay stationary, at least for, the mid-morning or, after lunch when they come in here. But, just keeping, you just never know what coaches are going to say. You never know what media members are going to ask. So you got to stay on your toes. I know a popular topic today was Dan Mullen and his shoe game. He always brings a new pair of shoes to media days, and today he was walking around in some orange and blue Jordans. Florida just signed an agreement with Jordan Brand. So, it's just random moments like that. You never know who you're going to pull from Radio Row. So, just a lot of unexpected things. But I'm going to try to talk to Cole Kublik tomorrow of SEC Network and get his take on some of the offensive linemen. Talk to him about Greg Little and see if he has the similar concerns that we do with Greg Little, if he sees him as one of those top offensive tackle prospects, and then talk about maybe the top offensive tackle prospect with Jonah Williams. So hopefully I can wrap him up. If not, I can at least talk to him and jot some things down. But just looking forward to, you kind of have to be on your toes, like I said, because it's hard to schedule everything because, people are here and there at two different times, and it can be difficult to wrap your arms around it, but it's still exciting. And so you just never know what you're going to expect.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, man. No matter what happens, even if that means you take one picture each day over the next couple of days, I'm really looking forward to it. You guys should as well by, again, hitting that follow button @_Christian Page. Follow him for all your SEC stuff from Alabama to Auburn to Vanderbilt to Florida. It doesn't matter. Follow him for it all. There's going to be great draft content coming from his account. And remember, download Cover One, the app. Download the app, become a premium subscriber, and stay up to date with all the great content that we've got coming out regarding the NFL draft for the 2019 season, the football season ahead of us. It's all good stuff, guys. So, Christian, thank you for joining me. I look forward to a couple more of these throughout the season for sure. As for everybody else, we'll see you guys next week.